Welcome everybody to Unit 1 of this e-course. Now that you've had an insight into the DISCO project, it's time to get started with the essentials of the evaluation process. In this unit, we will address three major aspects. First, we will get to know the purpose of an evaluation and will answer the question how an ideal evaluation process looks like. Second, we will learn more about assessing the impact of measures and the importance of data in that context. And third, we will get to know the concrete setting of the DISCO project when it comes to the evaluation task. At its core, evaluation is far more than just an end-of-project activity. It's a dynamic, versatile tool for documenting, analyzing, and assessing every phase of a project, whether it's just beginning, well underway, or nearing the end. From a life cycle perspective, you can divide an evaluation into 5 phases. It starts with the definition of the evaluation setup and goals. After this, there's the development of the evaluation concept based on the needs and specific requirements of the project. And based on this concept, you can run the evaluation, for example, by collecting, analyzing, and assessing information and data. The findings are then documented and communicated, as well used for the optimization of measures or the adoption of the concept or goals. A specific aspect at the beginning of the work is the scoping of the evaluation task. For example, an evaluation can address an entire project, a work package, or just one task within a work package. Depending on the scoping, numerous factors differ and should be considered carefully. For example, there might be differences in the number of activities and measures, the evaluation criteria, the time period, or the geographical extent, but also when it comes to the stakeholders involved. A central and often challenging question in evaluation is what is required to determine the effect of our measures. Let us imagine a situation in which a specific measure is considered and its impact needs to be determined. In order to measure its impact, we should look at the situation before and after its introduction. But how can the effects be measured? To answer this question, data becomes relevant. But data is not just data. To deal with this, in the evaluation context, we should ask ourselves some questions. For example, which indicators can be used for measurement? Is there a defined geographical area for the measurement? Or what is the time frame for the measurements? And is it likely that a change can be observed in this time? For example, when we're talking about CO2 emissions. Are other external factors affecting the measurement values, and how can this be considered in our evaluation concept? How often should we measure, and is there, for example, a technology to support this task? When it comes to the measurement itself, it's important to know the measurement methods and options, their pros and cons, and of course, their specific or special requirements. Measurements can be either quantitative or qualitative. Quantitative measurements are either automated or manual. Automated measurements can be made, for example, with sensors mounted in the road infrastructure of a city. It could, for instance, measure vehicles stopping at the delivering zone, such as the one in Ghent, shown in this picture. The sensors can either transmit data in real time, or it can have the function to store data to be transmitted at certain occasions. Another way to automate measurements can be to collect, for example, floating car data. This is data collected by sensors installed in cars driving in the city. These sensors can be mounted only for this purpose, like a mobile phone on the dashboard, or it can be sensors installed in the car for other purposes, like cameras or lidars. Some car manufacturers provide this kind of data already today. Whether data is collected by fixed sensors or, for example, floating car data, the data needs to be collected and analyzed. And this can be done by using the concept of data spaces, or, for example, with the help of digital twins. Manual measurements, on the other hand, can, for instance, aim to collect data from the delivery vehicle fleet through logistics service providers. It can also be done by using observation or counting in the infrastructure, or by sending surveys to different groups of people. Finally, qualitative measurements. These are usually classified as manual. Qualitative indicates that data or KPIs cannot be measured on a scale. Rather, judgments about the KPI are made. The support for such judgments can be collected by surveys, for example, or with the help of expert interviews. Of course, there are pros and cons with both automated and manual measurements. While automated measurements, for example, deliver data continuously when installed, manual measurements do have benefits regarding costs or the adoption of data collection. Negative aspects for automated measurements are that they might require permits or contracts, for example, in the case of floating car data, or that cyclic maintenance is necessary to keep the sensors and the equipment running. On the other hand, manual methods do not deliver data continuously and often require more manual labor per measurement, both in collecting and analyzing data. Now, what is the setting in the DISCO project? The DISCO project focuses on interconnected urban freight organization and city planning through data sharing and digitalization, which is based on a physical internet approach. At the core of the initiative, there is an urban freight data space and the so-called meta model suite, which is a toolbox that consists of 5 DISCO-X measures that are implemented not only by the steering living labs of Copenhagen, Ghent, Thessaloniki, and Helsinki, but that are also used by the twinning living labs Barcelona, Padua, Valencia, and Zaragoza. As DISCO wants to promote the digitalization and sustainability of urban logistics, the project is well aligned with the overall goal of the European Union to reach climate neutrality by 2050. To deal with this goal, different missions were set up. One of those missions is to develop 100 climate neutral and smart cities by 2030 in the European Union. Many of our DISCO cities were selected as mission cities, just like Copenhagen, Helsinki, or Thessaloniki. In addition to this, the United Nations 2030 Agenda includes 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Together with the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, this builds the global framework for international collaboration on sustainable development. Within the DISCO project, the actions, all actions, should have an impact on the Sustainable Development Goals. As you can see here, DISCO contributes to 7 out of 15 Sustainable Development Goals. On the other hand, the DISCO Living Labs work with numerous frameworks, such as Sustainable Urban Logistic Plans, short SULP, to shape sustainable urban logistics. In doing this, a SULP can set up goals for logistics in the city and should therefore be approved by city government as a central tool for all involved stakeholders. In DISCO, the SULP goals and the SULP guidelines shall be addressed by means of the DISCO-X measures. In order to structure and categorize the various DISCO-X measures, but also to track the impact achieved by implementing the DISCO-X measures, 5 impact domains were introduced in the project context, each representing a distinct area where we aim to create significant positive change. The first one is the agile storage and last mile distribution. This impact domain focuses on optimizing the final leg of delivery, making it more efficient, responsive, and environmentally friendly, for example, through micro hubs or cargo bikes. The second, the urban network management, involves enhancing the flow of goods and vehicles within the city networks, reducing bottlenecks and improving overall traffic efficiency. The third, the shared solution impact domain, promotes collaborative approaches to logistics, such as shared delivery hubs, consolidated freight, or joint procurement of sustainable vehicles, fostering greater efficiency through cooperation. The fourth is the connected logistics. This impact domain aims at leveraging advanced technology and IoT to create seamless, interconnected logistic chains and enabling real-time tracking, optimized routing, and, for example, predictive analytics. The last, the smart logistics domain, encompasses the broader utilization of data and advanced analytics to make intelligent, proactive decisions across the entire logistic ecosystem, moving beyond reactive problem solving to predictive optimization. The DISCO-X actions in each living lab are categorized using the presented impact domains, but also whether their activities are mainly digital, physical, or business-oriented. Thessaloniki, for example, implements 4 DISCO-X measures. The DISCO proxy measure is categorized as a shared solution, which is mainly a digital action. When it comes to the DISCO estate, it's categorized as a shared solution, but on the other hand, it's mainly a physical action. DISCO Bay, an agile storage and last mile distribution solution, is classified as a business action. And finally, this collection as a digital support infrastructure is categorized as a connected logistic solution. To track all the activities and to run the evaluation, 25 KPIs were defined within the DISCO project. In order to derive the 25 KPIs, the Sustainable Development Goals were used, and in conjunction with them, the key priorities for the DISCO project, such as no congestions, lower CO2 emissions, and efficient use of city space were defined. In addition, an association to the 5 impact domains and the KPIs was built. One example you can see here on this slide are KPIs that are associated with the impact domain agile storage and last mile distribution. To effectively track our progress and demonstrate impact across these diverse domains, we developed the DISCO evaluation dashboard. It's a tool for collecting, analyzing, and processing data, but also for visualizing data in the project context. Please take in mind that there will be a dedicated session on our dashboard in Unit 2. So this was the session about the essentials of the evaluation process. I want to thank you for listening, and I wish you good discussions in our forum and a lot of success with the quiz. See you soon.